Hi, this is Rex and Eric from AFCO Racing Products, and today we're going to talk to you about our reinforced front segment leaf springs for drag racing applications.
Absolutely, Rex. Folks, I've got a graphic that I think will help here. The spring that we're going to talk about is great for street and strip applications. Rex, if you wanted to jump in here and get the ball rolling.
Okay, well, what we're talking about with the reinforced front segment is, as you can see with the arrow in this picture, the second leaf comes clear up underneath the front eye of the leaf spring. And the reason we do that in traction applications, or where you're really hooking a car up hard, the main leaf of the leaf spring distorts really bad. You get a lot of distortion factor with leaf springs. In the past, we've always ran like a traction bar, a slapper bar, a type of a traction aid that way. And that helps, but it also kind of hurts the ride in the car. Plus, with the traction bar hanging down underneath the car, you've got some clearance issues. You know, you can catch the bottom of your trailer or whatever. But with a reinforced front segment, with the second leaf going up underneath the eye, it takes all the distortion, or most of the distortion factor, out of the main leaf, which hooks the car up and still have a softer ride. In the past, the go-to spring in drag racing was Chrysler Superstock springs, and they did work very, very well. The only issue is they're very, very stiff. And with the reinforced front segment AFCO spring, it does basically about the same thing as what the Chrysler Superstock spring does, but you've got a better ride because you don't have as many leaves and as thick as leaves, but we still gain the traction with that second leaf being going up underneath the eye.
Absolutely. That second leaf certainly reinforces the main leaf and does everything that we'd like it to do. Next screen shows an example of what a leaf spring actually goes through during a hard launch application. I see several things here that certainly cause for some concern. I'll grab a couple of them, Rex, and then maybe you can jump in there as well. The first illustration is that leaf spring, the way it's arched and de-arched. Anytime that's in the shape of an S like that, we're going to have some problems. Premature failure of the leaf spring is going to occur. Now, it may not snap, it may not break, but it's certainly going to wear it out a whole lot quicker than we'd like it to. Leaf springs are an item that gets abused every time we launch hard, drive it on the street, whatnot. So we certainly want to try to provide longevity and traction. You know, if one spring happens to fatigue a little bit more than another, now we're going to have a problem with equal traction. So certainly that's an issue there. Ultimately, at some point, we could come into a safety concern with failure up near the front eye with that much movement that's taking place. I see some other things. Rex, do you want to jump in on a couple there?
Well, one of the big things you get when you get this kind of a leaf spring distortion factor is a pinion angle, loss of pinion angle. Most of our cars have a negative pinion angle when the car is static, but when the car launches, the leaf spring wrapping up like you see in that graphic, the car loses all of this pinion angle. It actually goes from a negative pinion angle to positive. But once the drive shaft does that, it unhooks the car. With the reinforced front segment, you don't have the pinion angle loss as bad, and the car stays hooked up a lot better. You know, normally on a low horsepower car will be 3.5 to 4 degrees negative pinion angle. But with a high horsepower car or on a big tire car or a hooked up track, I've seen as much as 7 degrees negative initial when the car is static to keep the drive shaft issue from doing that.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of discussion through the years over the telephone lines, the tech lines at AFCO, and I think across the interweb on how to measure pinion angle. What is pinion angle? You know, and not here to debate that, but I think the way that we have checked pinion angle is put an inclinometer right on the face of the third member, the diff, if you will, and measure that dimension. And I think that the goal here, as Rex had mentioned, I think, is to ensure that there is negative pinion angle in your rear suspension. Keep in mind, a leaf spring is going to have so much more action in terms of pinion climbing the ring, in terms of change in pinion angle versus other types of rear suspension. So I think it's real important that we have negative pinion angle in our rear suspension package. Rex, do you see anything else here that catches your eye?
Well, there's a few factors, other factors, the way the shackle, the rear shackle swinging forward on it. With shackle placement in the back of these cars where you use a slider box or a shackle, the arc that shackle runs in can actually soften or stiffen your spring rate as it moves forward and backward.
Sure. Good point. And that's something else to keep in mind. A conventional coil spring is more linear in its rate. It's more consistent in terms of rate as it gets compressed, where a leaf spring can actually have a progressive nature to it as it's being worked into the car. The thing that also pops to mind is that U-joint. As we start to go into positive pinion angle, excessive positive pinion angle due to lack of initial negative pinion angle can cause failure at the U-joint. We certainly don't want to have a situation where the knuckles are hitting. We've seen that before, and that can be an ugly situation for sure.
For more information, visit us at afcoracing.com.